I'm here to talk to you about growing up in the countryside, being surrounded by farmland, watching crops grow, harvested, and being able to buy direct from farm shops. But then, the other day in London, I was watching a van unload. And it had a slogan on the side, and it said, "As fresh as it can get." And it was unloading strawberries into a restaurant. And then it made me wonder, do we believe slogans? Do we ever ask the question, especially when eating out, where has our food actually come from? Was it part of last year's bumper crop, stored at just the perfect conditions to now be available still? Was it imported? Or is there technology available that's allowing a farmer to grow strawberries here in March? How many of you here want to eat seasonally, buy UK-produced foods, support the British farming industry, or buy local produce in order to reduce your food miles and your carbon footprint? But maybe you work full-time, and that local greengrocer's on the way home closes at 5 o'clock, so you rarely make it there on time. Or maybe you've a busy social life planned for your week ahead, and you don't want to buy things in that you probably won't get round to eating before they're past their best. Or a family to juggle, and that local weekly Sunday farmers market just isn't sufficient for that big shop. And so, if you're anything like me, if it's not being ordered online, then it's a trip to the local supermarket. It's easy, it's convenient, and it's what we've become accustomed to over the past 30 years. It's a place we're seduced into, to quote a phrase coined by food writer Joanna Blythman. We're seduced into shopping in a permanent global summertime. Aisles of freshly coloured produce, readily available with very little seasonality. Do we ever question that? We might pay attention to the country of origin, that bag of baby spinach, arrived here from Morocco. But maybe you watched a recipe video on social media earlier, and you have to make it now before you forget about it forever. I'm sure I'm not the only person here who's seen a recipe online and then rushed out and purchased an ingredient that they'd never even heard of before. But living this way, when we're in a city, it can't remain the norm. In the 1980s, the global population stood at 4.5 billion. Today, that figure is 7 billion people, with around half living in an urban area. And it's a widely accepted prediction that by 2050, that figure is going to be 10 billion, with almost half living in an urban area. And to put some kind of context on that growth from now until 2050, that's taking the entire population of China and India, plus a few million more, and adding it together. Or to bring it closer to home, it's the current population of the United Kingdom multiplied by 153. That's a lot more people to feed, and a lot more people being totally disconnected from their food supply chain. Consider the pressure we'll be placing on natural resources. Currently, 70% of fresh water consumption is used in agriculture. All of that water that we pour onto the land with only a small amount being taken up by the plant itself. But what about when there's a flood or a drought? As we've seen in recent months, food rationing is introduced. And yes, some of us may have found the food rationing slightly amusing on the iceberg lettuces, because has anyone ever purchased 3 iceberg lettuces at one time? It served to highlight the fragility of our food supply chain and food security in general. Both are topics we need to seriously start thinking about. The salad shortage of 2017 may seem like they've passed us now, but that's only because supermarkets have sourced produce from further afield. And discussions indicate that this isn't a blip, but potentially the start of things to come. Countries should be looking after their own population before exporting. So is the answer to only eat UK produce when it's in season? Well, not necessarily, as the University of Sheffield carried out research that showed some of the UK's countryside has only 100 harvests left in it, with some urban plots of soil being richer in nutrients than some farmland. So that's more reason for us all to go out and grow our own on the fertile, rich soil of the city. Well, good luck, because my local London allotment closed their waiting list 5 years ago, and that list still has 200 people on it. So maybe we need to stop looking out onto the horizon for better growing methods. Maybe we need to look up. Maybe we need to look for a vertical growing revolution. And that's what we're doing at GrowUp Urban Farms. We're the UK's first commercial aquaponic vertical farm, and we're doing it all from a warehouse in East London. So we have fish, and the fish, take their waste, and we store the nutrient-rich water until it's required by the plants, in which turn we flood the benches or irrigate the plants, and the roots filter the water that then get recirculated back to the fish. And we're growing salad greens, salad leaves, microgreens, and herbs. And these are some of the most perishable of all produce. If you're flying it in, how long has it taken to get from the farm to your plate? And we're not using soil. We're sowing seeds by hand on recycled carpet. We're seeding, harvesting, and packaging by real humans. We've created permanent jobs in an industry mostly associated with seasonal workers. And we're paying a London living wage, a regular salary in an industry being propped up by us as consumers, our constant desire to buy cheaper foods. And also what we're doing isn't new technology. Traditional farmers in China would quite often add fish to their flooded rice paddy fields. And when it was ready to harvest, then the farmer had fish and rice. But on the farm, we're also reducing delivery times. We can harvest, package, and deliver all on the same day. So if you're talking about salads, that's an extra 3 to 5 days of shelf life. So hopefully going some way to reduce your food waste. So our farm, we have 12 fish tanks, and they contain tilapia. And these are a fresh white water fish. And if you've had a fish curry recently, then you've most likely eaten tilapia. And they're great fish for farming due to their feed conversion ratio. It takes around 1.2 kilos of feed to enable a fish to grow 1 kilo in size. Now, if you compare that to cattle, that requires 8 kilos of feed in order to obtain 1 kilo of meat. So it's a sustainable source of protein. And then our grow room. We have 8 benches, which are all 10 floors high. And that's 16 square meters of floor space converted into 160 square meters of actual growing space. But that 160 square meters will get you around 200,000 bags of salad a year. That's 3,800 people a bag of salad a week. So we're going to be a little short if we want to feed the city. So let's not end it here. Let's dream big. If you go to the outskirts of any city, you'll find industrial parks, empty warehouses, once home to businesses that have now gone overseas to cheaper locations. We can turn them into farms. We could put 10 times the number of fish tanks. That would then be the ability to produce 48,000 fish a year. And if we're going 10 times the size, let's go 10 times the floor space in the grow room, and then go twice the height. That would then be the ability to produce 4 million bags of salad a year. That's 80,000 people a week. But we're only limited by our size. So let's go depot size. And if we're going depot size, we could diversify the crop range if we wanted to. They might need more height to grow, or maybe the plants would need more time than the salad leaves we currently grow. Or maybe they need more lighting, but if we're obtaining it from a renewable energy source, then why not? And then the next mission, we want to reduce food miles. And every city, every major town has empty warehouses. Let's turn them into farms. Let's bring food and employment to each city. And then let's look at closing the circuit even more. We could feed the fish insects, or put a farm near to an energy source, say a manufacturing plant, who instead of releasing all of their heat into the atmosphere, we could use it to power the farm. Let's keep looking at ways to constantly close down that circuit. Let's ensure we keep a level of food security for future generations that we have been so lucky enough to enjoy. Let's make sure we keep food diversity to which we've become so accustomed to without having to search for it from further and further afield. Let's make sure we don't eat our way off this planet.